I also, for your consent, the meeting is being recorded. I hope that is okay with all of you. If you have any objection on that, you can let us know. Yes, let me call to Vani first to make introduction professionally and officially for the session as we move on.
Thank you, Malkia. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the SGP SWS joint workshop we have. And today we have a stellar panel and moderator with us for the evening, morning, wherever you are. I'll be sharing my screen right now and we'll be good to go. So as all of you know, you've joined today's workshop as we co-host the Feminist Approaches to Designing Sustainability Education workshops, where we are going to discuss how to design sustainability education-oriented workshops, particularly that cater to intersectional youth cohorts, whether that is in university settings or whether you are outside in your civil society settings or academia, right? So today's agenda is first, we have a set of introductions, then we have a poetry film workshop, and Éloïse is going to lead that. Then we're going to talk about case studies of student-led workshops where Mahi will take over. And then we'll have a breakout room for 15 minutes where all of us will go out into different breakout rooms with a particular set of prompt questions and brainstorm about how to design a 1 hour-long workshop. That will be followed by coming back to our main room and having a Q&A session, and hopefully it will be very interactive. Let's just quickly introduce Society of Gender Professionals. SGP's mission aligns with fostering and co-producing knowledge and disseminating applied gender research and providing a platform and a community for exchange of gender information, resources, activism, and advancing gender justice in the process, where there's a coordinated feminist solidarity and action that takes place within member communities, where we are promoting development of intersectional gender and integrating theory and practice, and supporting members in collaboration across the board. To learn more about SGP membership, you can go on the following link. The link will be there in the chat soon. We have annual dues, solidarity hours, and other membership formats. So this event and the next workshop that will be hosted by SGP is in collaboration with Sociologists for Women in Society, SWS, who have kindly given us a grant, Gender and Climate Justice, in collaboration with Gender and Climate Justice Circle at SGP. The mission that SWS aligns with is in complete synergy with how SGP operates. So we have transforming academy and professional organizations and promoting creation of institutionalized spaces that are more inclusive and intersectional, and also focusing on publication and dissemination of research that goes just beyond jargons and sociological feminist theorization, promoting social justice research, therefore, at different levels and scales across local, national, and international levels, across scholar activist communities. Objectives of the workshop, as all of us know, are oriented towards being self-reflexive and peer learning, so relearning and alternative pedagogies about sustainability education and how design actually is at the center of how we operate towards a feminist approach to designing a sustainability education workshop, and therefore exploring non-traditional forms of education and learning. So I'd like to introduce you to Malkia today, who is the moderator for our workshop. Malkia is the founder of Sauti Salama, a digital platform for reporting and accessing services for GBC survivors. And she comes from Kenya. She is also an electrical engineer, and she has driven and led many impactful projects across the board. And in her research and advocacy roles, she has steered SRHR and climate fact sheets for Mozambique, collaborating with WinFPA. And she is also a part of Younger Women and Gender Working Group, where she co-leads and contributes as the member of Partnerships and Outreach. And therefore, she strongly believes in representing marginalized voices to drive climate action that is gender just and intersectionally centric. Therefore, over to you, Malkia.
Thank you, Vani, for that. for this session, I will introduce our panelists and speakers, and I will start with Éloïse. She's on the call. Éloïse is a bilingual poet. She's also a climate activist, and she's born in France. She's a PhD researcher in eco-poetry at the University of Brighton, and where she's writing a verse novel. And she's a recipient of Develop Your Creative Practice grant by Arts Council England. She's also an author of several books and articles, Body Compost and Other Ghost Poems. She's also the author of Pink Goo and poems that are published in various magazines. She has graduated with a master's in media practice for development and social change at the University of Sussex. She's also the director of the documentary film collections of queer poets, the podcast Poetry to Your Ears and Eco Poetry films that are to be published in the magazine Climate Courage. She's also a facilitator and works as a forest school educator. And then we have Mahi. Yes. And we have Mahi here, who is also, she's a master's student majoring in environmental science at the University of Tokyo. She's researching campus sustainability. She's born in India and has lived in Japan for over 15 years. She's a founding member of University of Tokyo GX Student Network. She has also led student-led sustainability-related projects. And in particular, she has led the installation of water dispensers across the University of Tokyo. And she has organized the Campus Changemakers Summit in 2023 and coordinated University of Tokyo's first Sustainability Week. She's a trained facilitator for the Climate Fresk, which is an interactive climate education workshop. She has organized workshops for high school and university students. She's also spearheaded a series of events that destigmatize menstruation and women's health, which is called Period Rediscovered, which she'll talk about later. She now serves as on the board of NPO, which means for Empowering Women Japan, and where she's the director of programs. She also enjoys pottery, origami, and pepper plants. Thank you so much for also accepting to come and help us facilitate the workshop. Over to you. Over to you, Loris.
All right, can you see my presentation? Yeah. Can't read much. Okay, so hi everyone. I've got a lovely introduction. My name is Éloïse. I grew up in France, and I want to tell you a little bit about how I came to activism when I was 15. I just turned 24 now, so I come from a youth perspective. And there was a long-standing protest against the neoliberal treaty between France, the United States, and Canada. And I joined the protest by playing music. So I was part of a band, and we played Bella Ciao. And I think that kind of shows my approach that has been long-standing to activism, which is always bringing my skills, and they've always been creative-based. And I've tried really hard to be a proper activist by leading protests and organizing actions. I've had a brief chapter with Extinction Rebellion, and then at some point I wanted to lean into my skills, which turned out to be poetry, and I made a few poetry films to prompt climate emotion. So these are things I want to show you today, and we're going to use these poetry films for you to reflect on how you feel about the climate and how you can communicate this with people and in workshops for them to reflect on their own emotions as well, and how this can lead to future action. So I've done a very kind of basic show of binaries. So it seems that most of you come from academia. So I won't lean into that too much now, but these are basically binaries that are quite prominent in Western society to divide culture, nature, man, woman. Human, instead of putting in human, non-human, I specifically put human versus animals and plants, and reason versus emotions, prioritizing all the column on the left over to the right. And then the kind of feminist approach would be to see the column on the right as equal to, so seeing the power of women, of nature, of animals and emotions. And then there's even another approach, which is to kind of break down all these binaries, and a lot of work is done to kind of see where these binaries come from and how we can decolonize and queer our worldview. And why this is relevant now is that I'm specifically going to focus on emotions and how our emotions about the climate are important to consider in climate action, and how that informs our approach. So the first poetry film I did is a prompt in response to this prompt. When I was at university, there was a competition called Film for COP26, and the prompt was, how do young people feel about the climate crisis? And I asked around my friends and some of the students. I collected the answers, wrote a collective poem, and then filmed different faces. It was at the time in Brighton, so in England, there was a bin strike. And it was just kind of the first time we had in-person education after COVID, but masks were very much present. So I showed all these elements of the setting I was in this film, while in the poem exploring how young people feel about the climate crisis. So yeah, before we start, we have a little prompt for you, which we can put in the Mentimeter, which, Malkia, can you share the link to this? Which is to share one young person who inspires you to take climate action, and kind of think what emotion they are moved by. So you'll be able to share through the link that Malkia is going to share. Great. Oh, Vanny has shared it. Amazing. So the prompt is different, but the prompt I want you to respond to is to share one young person who inspires you to take climate action. So we have Kashan Basu, if I say it right. And then if you can put as well what emotion they are driven by, or what you think they are.
So
a sense of justice. Yeah, we have Kat Daniel.
I'm sorry, just to interrupt. So to vote on this and to write and to participate, just go on www.menti.com and please put in the number that I have written in the chat, which is 574816227. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so we have a few answers already. My daughter, my young nieces, I like to see some family in there, Greta Thunberg, and the emotions are sense of justice, love, appreciation. My sister, my daughter. Fatu Cheng. Great, lots of different names to check out at the end of this workshop. Sense of justice seems to be, does it come bigger, I think, when there's more people putting it as well, so it seems to be quite prominent. Great, so I'm gonna Aida Namukose. So this is something you can keep thinking about. I'm going to show you the film now. New share.
We are scared, anxious, angry, of our houses destroyed because of the sea level rising. No fish in the water, only plastic. That ugly commodity killed creatures more beautiful than we will ever be. They were orange, blue, and even neon green, but we only see in black and white. Collapse means falling without flight. Sequoias are wrapped in tin foil. We share tears with hands in broken earth. No one can share the grief like the earth can. We are scared, anxious, angry to be brought up in a world where every dream is deadly. We are asked what job we want to do when the future is nothing but poverty. Jobs that pay are the most useless, and we kill the back of those who hold the spine of our society. We are told to thrive in an upside-down world when gravity always pulls our feet down to the ground. We are scared, anxious, angry when some of us can't afford to live on a land that was once free. We are scared, anxious, angry to barely survive in a dying world for a dream that wasn't even ours.
Great. So yes, so you can see this poem for me came from a place of deep eco-anxiety, anger as well, and that's very much how I started my approach to wanting to do some climate activism. I think my approach has changed very much over time, but this was my starting point, and I want you now to reflect what you're moved to action by. Is it anxiety, anger, hope, positivity, or something else? And you will be able to put that in the Mentimeter as well. So if it's possible to create a new slide now for people to put their own emotions.
One suggestion is we can add in the chat.
Oh yeah, you can add in the chat what emotion you're. The question is, I'll just share again then. Are you moved to action by anxiety, anger, positivity, or something else? Grief and love, moved by a sense of responsibility, moved by grief. So grief comes out quite often. Hope and grief, hope, gratitude. And I think it's interesting to see how these interact, right? The hope and the grief come from.
It's not about your own now. Can you go by the fish?
Anger and hope, a sense of responsibility, hope and grief. Gratitude, Vanny says, which is very interesting. Anger and hope, frustration, anger and change, despair. Hope and anxiety. Hope says that. Interesting. move to action by facts, numbers, quantitative data. Dr. Manvi Aurora says that. Very interesting. Are you a sociologist, Manvi? Frustration. Hope, a sense of responsibility. Anxiety. So yeah, lots of different places where people are moved to action by. For me, I found that the kind of more negative emotions are the initial drive that pushed me to actually do something, but they didn't sustain me over time. They led to burnout, and I'm very much thinking about how to have a sustainable action that will be lifelong, because sustainable issues and climate change will be something that will be over a whole life and with generations in the future. So to me, it's quite important to come from a place that will sustain me, because we want to find modes of action which create a new world instead of just responding to the one that we have. Okay, we're going to move to the next poetry film now. And before we watch it, I want you to think about these things while you watch the film, which are: where do you notice change in your body, and where do your thoughts go to? So probably before we start the film, we can just take 3 deep breaths collectively, and then we're going to dive into it. All right, so this film is called Hottest Day on Earth, and I directed it last year on the 4th of July, which was the hottest day ever recorded on Earth, at the, when the recording started on in industrial times. And that has been trumped now by a date this year, which was the new hottest day on Earth. So this film is now too old to be the hottest day on Earth, but it was the case then. And it was I live in England, which has a really mild summer, and because I grew up in France in warmer summers, I had a kind of conflicted relationship to enjoying finally a little bit of sunshine, which I didn't have for a lot of time in the time in the summer in England, but also knowing and reading the news about how this was a clear sign of climate, global warming, and deregulation. So this was my mindset when I made this film.
Humans broken down. Vaccines of pangolins swimming in our veins with coke made legal. Robins chirping still. No giraffe, no hippo. Flying left and right, 10 billion fueled by kerosene every 2 minutes. Robots speaking poetry. I stopped breathing, thinking about the carbon in the air before we all choke. Looking down at the sun, I see crawling up and down, worms wiggling in the mud from Tuesday was world's hottest day on record. Je me noie dans les souvenirs, elle les accumule toujours plus. Ma vie peut-elle se résumer dans toutes ces pages griffonnées par des parents qui veulent
Audio is coming as delayed.
Made of plastic. Pourquoi est-ce qu'il faut maintenir? You can flood the grass with pesticide, but cannot keep slugs from crawling. You can steal honey from hives, but cannot keep bees from dancing. Flying left and right, orange birds fueled by kerosene everything. I stopped breathing, thinking about the carbon in the air before the oxygen. Looking down, I see crawling up and down, worms wiggling in the mud from before we invented time. If I told you that we can see our existence looking at the dust dating back to million years ago, before we all, the story rocks tell us is that we are driving ourselves to extinction. If I told you that we are melting ice and rising sea levels that will drown our lands, knowing we cannot breathe underwater while making have water that drowns us impossible to drink, knowing we cannot breathe without water. Turn it off. Turn it off. Off, 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 off.
Let's have a look. Let's see what it is. Don't worry, still load your time in this game. Still time your puzzle work. Remember, it's worth £300. Fingers on your buzzers. And here's your clue. This answer just won't give up. This answer just won't give up. Your time starts now. R T S L N. £140, Sherry and Amy. Relentless. Relentless. This answer just won't give up. Let's take a look. Yes, it is. Takes you to £340.
All right, so apologies if the experience was a little bit unpleasant for you, if you didn't hear the sound or it wasn't coming through. I haven't had the chance to put any captions yet, so it might be a little bit inaccessible. But I'm welcome to hearing. You can put in the chat, I think would be the easiest, how you feel after watching this film, given the initial prompt of noticing how you feel in your body and where your thoughts go to. So you might feel a little bit of frustration if the sound was on and off. I'm just waiting for you to put your words through. That we are highly tech-driven to observe nature, the irony. Because it was through film, through the camera that I observed nature. If you want to expand a little bit, Vanny, I would love that. So feel free to put it in the chat, everyone, don't be shy. You can criticize my film either. I'm not too attached to it. This is just a prompt for you to reflect. In my chest and my mind was going to performance arts during the equinox. Oh, a memory there. Okay, great. So I'll let you reflect in your own time. The film was not audible. Okay. Discomfort and unease. So yeah, you're welcome to take these films with you. They are coming to be published in Climate Courage, which is a journal that explores climate with mental health, and they are linked to these prompts, and they're part of lots of other contributions from other youth activists to share and use for workshop, etc. So if you would like, we will share at the end. And I don't have the link to Climate Courage now, but we can stay in the mailing list, and when it comes out, I can share that. And thank you. That's the end of my workshop, and I will pass it on to Mahi now.
Thank you so much, Éloïse. Those films, I've watched them before as well, are deeply moving, and I'm so grateful that you created them. And I'm sure the participants will have a great time reflecting on them as well as I speak. So I'm just going to quickly move on to my presentation because we're slightly behind time, but I hope you can see my screen. Can you? I see a heart. Thank you, Vani. Okay, so today I'm going to be speaking about designing sustainability education workshops from a student's perspective, and I'm going to be speaking from my experience as opposed to research. So please bear with me. I think this room is full of experts and people who've been working on gender for a really long time. So I would like to talk today about as a student who's newly coming into this field, what it's like to organize a workshop. And hopefully for the students in the room, this can be useful for you to think about organizing your first workshop, second, third, whatever, and also for professors, etc., to think about what's going on in students' minds when they are kind of trying to lead this kind of project and what kind of support they might need from you. So I'm extremely grateful to be invited to speak today, and I hope that you can get something meaningful out of my talk today. If I can go on to the next slide. Okay, wonderful, it's moving. So just a little bit about me. I'm just going to skip this part because we already had an introduction earlier. So quickly about why I like workshops specifically, because I think it's a great place to meet other people, especially if it's in person, and just learn with other people. And it's a form of informal learning, which you might not get through your formal curriculum. And also organizing a workshop is something that's really doable, right? Like it's not the same as maybe submitting a really long proposal and waiting for that to be implemented through different ways. But it's something that you can set a target and you know when you're going to do it, you invite people and it happens, right? So in that sense, it's something that's quite achievable and you can feel good about, once it's done. It's a tangible target, I think. And also you have so much freedom in designing this workshop and how you're going to go about engaging your audience in whatever topic it is that you choose to do. For me, the main challenge is getting people to come to the workshop. And so I'm so impressed that there's like more than 50 people in the room today. I have a lot to learn from Wani and the other organizers of this event for how you managed to get so many people to join an online workshop on a Monday evening. So thank you so much for everybody joining and making time to join today. I know it's quite difficult to get participants in an event. So today I'm going to be briefly introducing three or four cases. One is from the student organization that I'm part of called UTokyo GXSN. We're kind of involved in doing the sustainability related, it's called green transformation in my university, basically sustainability related advocacy within the university and trying to create change there. And I was involved in co-leading the water server project and coordinating the sustainability week. Next, I'll talk about the climate fresque, which is a workshop, which I'll go more into detail in a bit, and the period rediscovered series, which is about destigmatizing menstruation. So firstly, to talk about the water server project. So this was a student-led project, and what we managed to do was install more than 25 water servers across our university campus it took us about 2 years for the university to actually listen to us and fund our project. And it involved a lot of writing proposals and doing surveys of buildings and surveys of students to show that there is actually a demand for refillable water on campus. And then finally, the project was implemented. And of course, this project was targeting not specifically climate change, but targeting single-use plastic, right? And personally, I think that plastic is a really good way to step into the field of environment and other issues, because it's quite an intuitive subject and can be quite easy to identify and take action on, whereas maybe climate change a little bit more tricky in that sense. And then okay. And then we also organized the Campus Changemaker Summit, which was kind of a follow-up from this project. So once this project was implemented, we realized that actually this is something that basically any school, any university you go to, there's going to be some student who's thinking about how can we increase access to clean, drinkable water that is cheap and doesn't come in plastic, right? And so this is a project that can really be implemented across different universities and schools. And I mean, you don't have to install water servers or water dispensers itself, but creating a way for students to get access to water, right? So we thought that what we need to do is create a way for students to learn from each other and learn from not just our project, but also for us to learn from other projects that are happening within other universities, because similar projects were going on when this project was happening. So we created this event called Campus Changemaker Summit, which I'll introduce in a second. And just to show you a little glimpse of the impact of the project, although there's more than 25 water servers that have been installed, you can see this is a map of the campus. This is just one of the campuses. We have numerous campuses, but we've managed to refill about 250,000 liters of water. And this is only from 12 locations. So we only were able to measure the water consumption from 12 locations. But you can imagine that there's probably like at least double the amount of water that's being refilled. And what we did was try to make this data accessible on the internet. So you can search up our project and find this data so that other students can use this data to convince their universities to show that, this is a project that needs to be done. And so in order to create a space for students to share, these kind of learnings with each other, we had this event called the Campus Changemaker Summit. And yeah, it also had like a workshop style event. And just in the interest of time, I'm just going to move on quickly from this. But another event that we organized, that I was involved in organizing, is the Sustainability Talks event. So what we had was, this is the first time it happened in the university, but over a span of 5 days, we had 4 days where we invited professors and students, and they shared about their research or their experience doing sustainability related research. And this was completely organized by students. And to create, to organize this scale of an event, it's quite difficult for students because they don't really have access to that much resources. So we were lucky to be able to be supported by the university in providing the venue and stuff, but it's quite difficult to navigate all of that. And the question that we had to think about was, what kind of gender ratio should we have in our speakers, right? And the reason why for some of you, the answer might be obvious, but the reason why this was a little bit tricky for us is because within the University of Tokyo, women actually constitute only about 20% of the student body, right? So a very, very low percentage, and only 10% of the professors. So we were mostly inviting professors, but there is very few female professors. So we were wondering, like, what kind, we definitely want representation, and we definitely don't want an all-male panel, but what should we be aiming for, and what is actually possible to achieve? So eventually, we were like, okay, we're going to aim for 50%, but let's see how much we can do. And finally, we managed to get 16 out of the 40 speakers as female speakers, which was, quite a huge accomplishment for us given our circumstances. But for, when we were organizing an event really more about environmental sustainability, we also had to think about these other aspects. And as students, we don't have as much knowledge or as much experience in dealing with these issues, right? Maybe throughout your career, you get the chance to experience maybe DEI trainings, etc. But for us as students, it was a little bit tricky to navigate that. And then a slightly different, pivoting the conversation, another series I organized was the Period Rediscovered series. And the purpose of this workshop series was to educate about and destigmatize menstruation. It was more for my own knowledge because I thought I was really lacking in knowledge and my sexual health education was lacking in that sense. And hence, I was really driven to organize this series. And I won't go into the details about the events, but we had 6 different events talking about 6 different topics. And I created these infographics to kind of summarize what we learned in those events. But what I wanted to share with you about this event was that after the online series, we decided to organize an event in person. And this was a documentary screening of a film called A Bloody Taboo. So I had nothing to do with actually making the film. I was simply organizing the event. And you can see this is on this side, you see the poster of the event. And then this is actually the poster of the film itself. And you can see that it has a bloody tampon on the poster of the film itself. But when we were trying to create a poster for the university, we were told that we were not allowed to show this poster because of the bloody tampon. So there was a little bit of controversy over that, but we're like, you know what, at least we can show this film on campus, and that's more important. And so we managed to navigate that. And then the other aspect was, although this event is clearly about, women's health issues and not just women, of course, but what we tried to do was attempted to create a zero waste event, and we failed miserably at doing that. But the idea was that, when you're organizing events, regardless of whether they're about environmental issues, like there needs to be some kind of intention to think about how you are incorporating other elements of sustainability into it, right? So if you're organizing an event about climate change, of course, you would want to introduce a gendered perspective into that. So in a similar way, if you're organizing an event about gender equality, then you would want to kind of think about how you're organizing that event and how that's impacting maybe the environment, if you have the resources and capacity to think about that for that event. So that's just one example I wanted to share. And then finally, this is kind of the main workshop that I really want all of you to go away and try. So you can just search Climate Fresk on the internet, and you will be able to find a Climate Fresk workshop either online or in person near your area. And this is a 3-hour workshop that educates about the causes and consequences of climate change. And it has been designed by a French engineer back in 2015. And it is really a really good workshop, and it uses cards. So it's a very interactive workshop where you're kind of placing the cards into a collage with a group of participants in order to create this image of what are the causes and consequences of climate change. So it's really trying to make it easier to understand what's going on, so that from a shared understanding of climate change, you can think of solutions. And the workshop is collaborative, fun, and most importantly, it's science-based. So it's based on the IPCC reports that get published. Oops. And what I love about this workshop is that it uses different modes of learning. So not only are you looking at cards, for example, there's also written text so that it's easier for people, it actually explains each concept, but there's also like visual images on the cards as you can see them. And then there's a creativity section. There's also a chance for the participants to think about their emotions. So I don't want to spoil too much of the workshop. So I really hope that you can go away and try this workshop yourself. But depending on the facilitator, you can also introduce the gendered perspectives, gendered implications of climate change. So I always do this when I'm doing the workshop, is kind of talking about how climate change impacts different populations, differently. And, of course, the whole argument about the most vulnerable people are affected the most. So it's quite important to get that message across as well. And what's great about this workshop is that you don't have to design it every time yourself. It's already a set format that you can replicate and scale. And so based on this model, there have been a lot of other workshops that have been developed as well. So as an individual, if you like this workshop, you can get trained, and then you can organize the workshop and kind of pass it forward. So this is also a completely different style. So it's not something, you don't have to manifest the entire workshop yourself every time, but you can just replicate the same workshops that you have. And you can also do that with workshops that you've organized in the past, like, a documentary screening. You could do the exact same thing again in the future, and you would just have a different audience, and maybe you'd tweak a few things here and there, right? So just a quick crash course in workshop design. I see that in the chat, most of you have already designed and facilitated workshops, but the main thing that I wanted to show for people who haven't organized a workshop before, you really do not have to do this alone. It's great to find other friends or colleagues or anybody who shares this vision with you and who wants to organize a workshop with you. And do it with other people, because that just makes life easier. So, get friends, get whoever you want, find teammates, create a shared vision of what you want that workshop to look like, and then find a venue or whatever other tech support you need if you're doing it online, and then you can organize the workshop. And then finally, it's about getting the people to the event as well, which I am still getting better at, but yeah, actually getting people to the event is another challenging part, I think. And then hosting the workshop itself. So I'm not going to go into details of actually designing a workshop, because we would like all of you to have a chance at doing that. So I hope that I am in time. We would like to give you a chance to quickly design a 1-hour sustainability education workshop. And we would like you to answer 4 questions. So who is your target audience? What are the objectives of your workshop? What are the activities that you would host in this workshop? And how do you make it accessible to your target audience? And we are going to put you into breakout rooms with maybe teams of 4 and 5. And you would have about 15 minutes to plan this workshop. And we're just going to pick a couple of groups to share what their workshop is about. And what I'm going to do is share a link to a Google slide with all of you. So when you go into the breakout room, just remember which breakout room you've gone into. And then on the Google slide, go onto the slide that refers to that breakout room, and then you can fill in your answers there. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me or any of the other organizers. Thank you very much.
So maybe when you go into the breakout rooms, to get the conversation going a little bit easier, some of you can think about whether you're already doing workshops, and because the center of this workshop is gender diverse youth, if you're doing workshops with gender diverse youth, and how you can make workshops for that and kind of introduce the work that you do and get the kind of collective intelligence towards that, or you can make up your own situation if you want.
Okay, so here is the link to the Google slides. And if you go to slide 9 and below, you will see that there's one slide per breakout room. So Aparna, could you put everyone into breakout rooms? That's okay.
Sure. So please open the slide deck. I'm not sure if it will disappear from the chat once breakout rooms are open. So just wanted to make sure everyone has access to the link and is able to open it before we open the rooms. Yeah, we can also add the 4 questions in the chat.
Yeah,
Right.
I'll do that now.
Thank you.
I would urge everybody to move to slide number 9 for now. Because everybody seems populated at slide number 1. Thank you. So Eloise, thank you for sharing, I think, the medium of films and reiterating eco-poetry through how you have interacted with nature and kind of recorded it for us. And I think that was really emotive and we could connect with it. Thank you, Mahi. And we are ready with the breakout rooms.
Yay.
Thank you, Aparna, for creating the breakout rooms.
Sure.
For the participants still in the main room, are you having trouble joining the breakout room?
No, kindly send us the link again.
Check in your main screen. There is a breakout room icon. You click on it.
We can just move them to the breakout room. Shall we do that?
Well, they've already
Okay.
been assigned,
All right.
so we
Um,
can't like physically move.
We
But,
can. I think we can move them. Should it? I
yeah,
can
I'm
do
gonna
it.
try to do that. I think they can.
Oh no, we can move them from one room to another, but we can't.
yeah.
Maybe I can move. Room 5 has no people, so let me move everyone to room 5.
There are lots of people in room 5 now, but none of them have joined, so maybe they just left the meeting.
I'm hopping around in different breakout rooms so that there are no breakout rooms that are silent entirely.
There's strong activism against use of, for instance,
Sorry, it's quite brutal. Come back to the main room, maybe. Apologies if we quite conversations.
Yeah. We were getting to know each other first, and then oops.
If you had a great conversation, you can always share your contact and then keep chatting by email or WhatsApp or LinkedIn or anything. It's good to meet new people as well, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you for your active participation. I know the time is really short, so. Okay, so what we're going to do now is have a quick look at what you have come up with. Maybe we're just going to get 2 or 3 groups to share. So I'd like breakout room 4, if somebody's happy to volunteer and quickly introduce what they've designed their workshop to be. I'll share my screen. So okay, go ahead.
All right. Hi, I'm Donna. I'm sorry I didn't get to see the names of my classmates in breakout room, but they were the ones who all gave these ideas. So for us, the target audience are specifically, we're envisioning somewhere in maybe a school environment. So students, administrators, and teachers, and everybody in the school. And first, we want to be able to have a consensus around sustainability. So they mentioned that there might be different ideas on what sustainability is and what what the practices would entail. So maybe have an agreement on this first, and then engage the participants in the practices and how these can be implemented in their in their institution, in their daily lives, in their immediate environments. And then for the activities in the workshop, they mentioned that it's less engaging if it's a lecture type format. So they wanted it to be more interactive. So definitely a lot of art forms. We're going to be dividing the participants into groups and then explore the topics that will be given to them through different art forms. So it depends on which one probably they would decide. Maybe they can create create models, or maybe they could do a role-playing scenario, or maybe draw an illustration or do a collage or anything. And then all these actions would lead toward the participants being able to articulate their commitment toward sustainable actions. And then toward the end of it, maybe there's a further affirmation from experts on climate or sustainability through a Q&A session with the participants. And then it's not showing here, but I think I was able to write it down. But if we were thinking of how to make it accessible, maybe use of audio and visual material, maybe something tactile material for people with visual impairment, maybe use of sign language interpreters if needed, and other such actions actually. And then after that we got cut off. So that's it from our group. If the others could add a bit more detail, they were really so great. I couldn't write them all down. So thank you.
Wow, incredible. You managed to plan so much in just 10, 15 minutes. This sounds like a really good workshop. I feel like there's a lot of like activities in the workshop, so all the participants are going to be super engaged. But thank you so much for sharing and participating.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. I'm really intrigued by the role-playing scenarios and how to break down maybe the hierarchy between students, teachers, administrators, and get everybody to collaborate together.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Would room 1 be interested in sharing their chat? Can these sessions be longer next time? Please, I've enjoyed this. We wanted to. The workshop, we had the time limit of 1.5 hours, so we had to do with what we had between presenting our practices and get you participating as well. But I'm really glad to see that you were engaged and interested, so feel free to share each other's contacts and keep having these conversations outside of this structure.
So if no one from breakout room 1 wants to share, maybe breakout room 2 also has a really interesting topic.
I can share for breakout 1.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, 1, sorry, I'll move back.
Yeah. Okay, so hi everyone. For our group, like professionals were there, so we decided that our target audience would be rural health and wellness professionals and practitioners. And since though these professionals are very much involved in their work, and most of the caretakers are women, so we decided that our objectives would be centered on their wellness as well, not only for their professional. So to objectives were to identify specific provisions if they need in their facilities, exploring their work-life balance challenges, and strategies for fostering collaborative research, solidarity, and community care. So these were some of the objectives we framed. And for activities, since we hope that these kind of workshops get audiences from different and diverse backgrounds, so for the activities based on the objectives, for we hope to divide the participants in different groups, and then identify the problems they face themselves, or they know of some of the problems which rural health and wellness professionals face, discuss those problems and come up with a solution or any policy which they can present, then some role playing things. And for research as well, since this is related with professionals and practitioners, so also the collaborative research is also a good thing if it's an outcome for these kind of workshops. So if the same groups can discuss and come up with any of the collaborative research problem which they can do, which will be good outcome from this workshop. And we were just thinking about how do you make it accessible to your target audience. So Sophia, one of our members, she was sharing that when it's hybrid, it's difficult to manage the center, manage for the audience, as they feel disconnected and they need more integrated and physical presence. So we were thinking like this question relates to the presence of participants, whether in online or physical or hybrid format. So if that's the case, then depends on where this particular workshop is happening. So maybe hybrid or physical format. So this is these are some of the points we could come up with in this discussion. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. I see that role playing is a very common activity. I guess everybody's excited about role playing, right? So yeah, it definitely sounds like a fun activity to do. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Do you have any comments on this? If not, I think in the interest of time, I'm sure that all of you can read through the other slides and see what other groups have come up with. And now what we would like to do is open up the floor to any questions that the audience has, either to me or Éloïse, or any comments that you have based on the presentations and the workshops that we've done today. So feel free to either type in the chat directly or unmute yourself and ask your question or comment.
Yeah, I like what you wrote on the chat, that if there are workshop ideas that we want to try out with SGP, I think it's a great opportunity for everyone, especially for people who are trying to get into training, who are not trainers, and would like to work with lots of diverse teams. I think Especially online. It's been great to meet people from different parts of the world with the same vision.
Yeah, and it's so cool that SGP is providing such a large audience as well in outreach. So I think that's a great opportunity too. So, all the work that you put into organizing the workshop is given justice to by the participants that join and actively participate, like all of you.
Jacqueline, were you trying to say something? Or was it just your mic?
Sorry, I ran out of, my power went off. So I'm just back and I didn't realize that I was unmuted. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah. Yeah, so Sari, you were the one saying talking about having two facilitators, right? So Mahi and I just met for this workshop. So Vanny from SGP kind of fished us out and put us together and was like, okay, do this workshop together. And it was really interesting to meet and kind of collate our different experiences into something for you guys. So I think it's always great to do a workshop with someone you don't know and who's got a different kind of set of skills than you do and see what arises of that.
And also we were lucky that I think our wavelength matched a bit. Otherwise, it could be really difficult if you got like very diverging worldviews or whatever.
Thank you for your seamless communication and coordination, Éloïse and Mahi and Malkia. And I think that is why, because you already have expertise in designing sustainability in person or hybrid. And that is something we wanted to tap in. So thank you for coming on board today. And thank you everybody, Dora and Sari, and everybody who stayed for the breakout room. We've got instant feedback. If you want to actualize these workshop ideas, then SGP can help facilitate that as well. And if anybody wants to talk about the breakout room experiences, please go ahead. Yeah, that's all that you'll hear from me. Okay, over to everybody.
Aparna?
Yeah. Thank you so much for today's workshop. There's a question in the chat about contact details. Vani and other our workshop facilitators for today. Are you comfortable in interacting with folks beyond the workshop? If so, then you can share your details as well. And specifically for Vani, there's a request for contact details.
Great. So I'll be in contact with Sari and Rosemary, who've expressed their interest in organizing the workshop. And please drop in your names if you want to organize a workshop with us then. And I'll be in contact with you. But Malkia, before we log off, would you want to introduce your organization, which is doing a very proactive job in its activism? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Vani put me on the spot. I co-founded Sauti Salama, which is a Swahili word for safe voice. Basically, it is curated around survivors of gender-based violence getting centralized support, all the way from reporting to justice and healing. And since, especially in Kenya, the services and support for survivors is segregated or it's just in silos. So we decided to have a digital platform where we onboarded NGOs, pro bono lawyers, pro bono counselors, communities to just come and support each other in eradication. So we're doing prevention and also post-event support, which is mental health and also justice through the lawyers. It's a PWA, so it's easily accessible. We are now also venturing to a USSD for people who are not able to, get on the internet. But there's a very good smartphone penetration in the country. So yeah, that's what Sauti Salama does. We are almost a year old, and we are registered as a social responsive responsible company. Yeah. We also do a lot of climate, a lot of education around intersectionality of, women, and all these that's happening. And I know it may not be really related to climate, but, all the research on climate change and its intersectionality with violence. So we are trying to, to help eradication and also just having a space for survivors to just talk about everything. Yes, thank you. We are also you can just find us on sotisalama.org everywhere and in all social media platforms. Thank you, Vani, for the platform.
Thank you for being with us today and raising and escalating issues like violence against women and girls and SR/HR rights that Mahi was talking about, and across the board creating intersections of gender and climate-based justice. So thank you for putting us in touch with our emotions, Éloïse, Mahi, and Malkia, and just helping us design a very gender-centric sustainability education workshop. We'll be continuing with our workshop series next month, which will again be co-sponsored by SWS. And Aparna, thank you for sharing all the relevant links and co-organizing this workshop along with the entire cohort that has been proactive today, Mahi, Éloïse, Malkia, and hopefully I've been active too. And so let's just, since all of us have stayed back and have been dedicated towards today's workshop, let's just, if you want to switch on your camera and be part of the photograph, then we'll be waiting. Otherwise, if you want to log off, that's also all right. If you just want your name on screen, that's also okay.